Alright, we're back here with another uquiz for the first time in quite a while, and we're doing which incident of scientific malpractice are you? The introduction says, okay, maybe not which one are you, but I couldn't make the title too long, okay? So it's more like which would you get caught up in? Trigger warnings for medical malpractice, death, and horrible ethics. I tried to avoid the more intense events, but it is scientific malpractice, so make of it as you will. It's nice of them to include the warnings for me, so that all I guess is going to apply to this video, at least potentially. And let's go ahead and get started. The first question is, welcome to my humble abode. Thoughts on pickles? I think the most obvious, maybe the most important observation of pickles is they are rather phallic in nature. There is a downside in which they kind of inherit that shape from the cucumber, and I think that's kind of a more just natural, raw, I don't really want to say pure, but more idealized form of that phallic nature. I think it's easy to get tempted by the immediate phallic nature, but I don't like that lack of honesty in pickles, so I'm gonna go with disgusting. I don't actually mind them that much, but they don't give you like an option in the middle. I think that's their only negative option, so we're gonna have to go with that. So before we move on, I'm looking at the background real quick. Is that like a cheetah in a jar in the bottom middle there? Like, I understand like the calf skull and the general kind of vibe, but I don't get, it looks like there's a face in a jar there of a cheetah. Second question is favorite type of lizard. First option is a Gila monster, which I don't know too much about. The term monster, I feel like, is going to be kind of exaggerated. Like, I'm not an expert or anything, but I don't think any of the lizards get that big, so it seems kind of like over-promising. Second option is a bearded dragon, which just no. Beards are a very kind of human construction. They're a social construct, and I don't like the idea of a lizard, particularly one with the title of a dragon, inheriting that kind of power. I feel like that could potentially lead to like the lizards trying to take on other human aspects. The third option is a Komodo dragon, which, I mean, all things considered, they're kind of just like run-of-the-middle. Which, I mean, all things considered, they're pretty like plain, right? Kind of straightforward. They're not bad per se, but they're just kind of like a very typical what you think of when you think of a lizard. That's just kind of the base forms of a lizard. I hope you can't hear my parents talking right now. It is actually 3 in the morning. I don't know why they've decided to suddenly have such a loud conversation now, but I may or may not be able to like work around it. If I can't, I'm sorry. Like, there really is no time in my life safe from like having loud conversations intrude on my recording sessions. So anyways, the last option is a tree crocodile. I'm not sure what that is. I looked it up and it just gave me crocodiles in trees, which if that's what it is, that's actually pretty like sick. That's kind of vibes, but I feel like it's meant to refer to some specific like breed of lizard. Because of that, I'm gonna have to go with Komodo, just because like I don't know what a tree crocodile is. Question 3 is, who do you relate to most in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? The first option is Victor Frankenstein. In my search for glory, I've fallen from grace. I don't know if that's a quote for something, like they all have these weird little quotes that I can't quite source. I did read Frankenstein, but it was such a long time ago. I don't remember like a lot of the specific details. But obviously we know like Frankenstein is the name of the... He wasn't even a doctor. Wasn't he like a grad student who reanimated like a corpse or whatever happened to make Frankenstein? Anyways, I remember him getting a lot of like Victorian, like, back in Victorian days, everyone was like passing out. I'm pretty sure old Victor here did a lot of that, and that's maybe fitting for me, but I don't know if it's how I want to display myself to the quiz. That being said, this is about scientific malpractice, and given that this is probably like the most upfront answer you could pick. The second option is the monster. Even my creator cannot look me in the eye. My creator, I guess, would be my mom, and I can look her in the eye just fine, and she can look me in the eye, so that doesn't hold up for me. Third option is Henry Clerval. I don't remember quite who he is, but I don't like his name. Third option, Henry Clerval. Too caught up in love to see its horror. How do you even say his last name? Clerval? That doesn't sound right, but I don't know what else it could be. I don't remember who he was either, and I don't feel like looking it up. Based on his name, I don't know, it's got a bad vibe to it. And the last option is Robert Walton, always the audience, never the showman. Once again, I don't remember who Robert Walton is, but based on his name, he sounds like he owns like a chain of hotels. I don't know why that sprang into my mind, but that's like the image that I got from this. And I'm not into capitalism. I guess that leaves me with Victor Frankenstein as my choice. Which, I mean, a lot of people criticize me. It's not really like a very glamorous option, but none of these people really are. Maybe the bottom two, they could be. I don't know who they are, but I guess the term glamorous is the tone setter here. If you don't know who these two people are, they can't really be glamorous options, now can they? Question 4 is The Time Has Come. It's a lyric question. Now, this time, I normally don't recognize any of these songs. I know almost all of these, at least the artists this time. I don't know the first one. Like, I'm not gonna read out the lyrics because they're just, like, edgy stuff. They look like they should be on, like, in that weird kind of, like, word art with the backgrounds are, like, fires and skeletons you see. The first artist, The Devil Makes Three, I don't know anything about, so I can't really comment on them. The second artist is La Dispute, which I heard King Park. I thought it was pretty good, and so I listened to it like once or twice since then. It is a good song, but I don't know like too much about them. Third artist is Slipknot. I don't want to sound like elitist or anything, but I think Slipknot's kind of I don't know, they're okay. They're not like super glamorous or anything. Like, I don't want to be like the any mainstream metal is bad kind of vibe, but like they do seem like the kind of artists that got mainstream a little as like genericism. I don't really know what I'm saying here. The fourth option is AJJ. I'm guessing that's Andrew Jackson Jihad, which I listened to an album of theirs and like I appreciate their message, what they're trying to get across, but their like whole style presentation kind of thing came off as really like cringy and overbearing to me, so I don't want to pick them. Because I don't know any of these artists, like any of the songs in particular too well, I should probably go with the last option, which is a skip. But I do want to represent what I know. I want to give a more decisive answer as well, so I am going to go with the La Dispute. Question 5 is pick one of my obsessions. The first option is Catholicism, particularly sainthood, which, I mean, there's a lot of, like, obvious criticisms you could bring up that come to mind, but to be perfectly, like, honest and fair, there are certain points of, like, Christianity that do kind of balk. I don't know how much, I don't know the breeds of Christian. Like I've said before, I don't know the breeds of Christians, so I don't know how much of that is Catholicism in particular, but I can see it, like, being a vibe. The second option is The Legend of Zelda, which, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is kind of like a bit straightforward of an option. Like, I'm sure that's a pretty common kind of thing, which, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that alone as a criticism. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's bad, but I haven't finished any Zelda game, and so I can't really say I'm too much into this particularly. The third option is the Riddler and the Penguin. Listen, I can explain, and then they just don't. So I'm gonna assume that you're lying because you didn't just put your whole life story in the choice here. The Riddler, I can kind of see, like, with clever displaying, he can be like an interesting villain. I know Paul Dano played him. I've seen like memes of it on Pinterest. I want to watch that movie, The New Batman, but I haven't yet, so I don't know how good he is. But on the other hand, the Penguin, is anyone's favorite Batman villain the Penguin? That's suspicious right there. I don't know how I feel about that. And the last option is Gothic literature, which sounds really cool, but for what I know of it, it seems like a lot of it is just like books about people being sad, which now that I think of it, is kind of like just the normal goth aesthetic, but still, you know, I don't want to give off the wrong impression, but I am going to go with Catholicism here, actually. Like, I do think to some point that is kind of like an understandable obsession. Question 6 is Chili's. Pick a menu item with credit to Jasper Dearest, employee of Chili's. I don't know if his, like, last name is Dearest, or if it's part of his, like, internet handle, or if they're just, like, referring to Jasper with a, term of endearment. Whatever it is, shout out Jasper, whoever you are. First option is Crispers, with, in brackets, don't ask me what it is, I don't know. I don't know what it is either. Apparently, like, nobody knows what they are. I think I tried to look it up and I didn't get any results. So, I have to go off the assumption that this is yours or maybe Jasper's hallucination. Which does sound intriguing though, as like a menu item to order a hallucination. But then you run a really big risk in like what the quality of the food you're gonna get back is gonna be, assuming you get back food at all. Like, were you to order this at a restaurant? The second option is fajitas, with in brackets. Honestly, couldn't tell you what this is either. I've never been able to eat them. And to be honest, I can eat them, but I never have, and so I, once again, also do not know what fajitas are. And I'm not going to look them up. This really sets a tone for Chili's. I've never been to Chili's, but apparently their whole menu is just like a big mystery, which maybe I'll have to go there one day. This sounds kind of cool. Third option is cookie with no further info. But to be honest, what kind of further info would you need for like the concept of cookies? Like, this seems pretty straightforward to me. It's nice knowing what cookies are if you're going to order them. So that's a big plus for this option. And the last option is and corn. In parentheses. This one was an afterthought, but I think it's extremely important. But important to who? Like, corn's not bad as a food, but whose like preferred food is corn? Like, what are you, a chicken? You scared? I think really like not wanting to order a mystery option, that narrows it down to cookies and corn, which seems like a terrible premise for a restaurant if those are your only two intelligible menu options. But it does make the choice easy. I'm gonna have to go with the cookie, obviously. Who would choose corn over a cookie? I don't know what to tell you. Question 7 is pick an obsession that one or more of my friends has. Option 1 is Joker and Batman, but the Lego versions. I played the game, I think on Wii, like Lego Batman, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if my game glitched or one stage is just really weird, but I ended up getting stuck as a kid. I couldn't beat it, but to be fair, I got stuck on a lot of games as a kid, so I don't know how good of a justification that is as a criticism. I remember I watched some YouTuber, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, I'll like show them up on the screen, who did a bunch of like really funny Lego Joker Batman videos. So that could be like a positive offset. Also, I don't know how old your friends are, so that's definitely like a determining factor. The second option is Monster High, which I was never into. I don't know if anyone in my class when I was like... Alright, so I was growing up at the time like where this was popular, but I don't remember anyone in my class being into Monster High, like when we were of the age when it was the time and that would be like expected. So I can't really say anything about the quality from like seeing things from my friends about them, but maybe that's like a criticism in and of itself. The third option is, this doesn't count as an obsession, but regardless, truly bizarre ASMR videos, which I really get this one. I have a playlist. I don't know if it's on this channel, but I have a playlist of like bizarre ASMR videos. I've been thinking about doing my own, but I don't have like a full script set up yet. I'm probably going to do some in the future though. It's something I've been thinking about. And the last option is music for all of them, really. I don't know them is referring to, like for all of them, all of your friends. That being said, this does make sense. Like, this is a valid obsession. I would kind of consider myself part of this. With that being said, I want to, like, when you're doing these kind of quizzes, you want to pick the option that will best reflect your own personality, and that to me would be the ASMR videos. Like, music is too common of an obsession to be like a defining characteristic unless you are against all the other three. But bizarre ASMR is a good thing to be into, I think. Question 8 is choose an animal. The first option is hare, which I thought was a body feature, not an animal. That is a terrible joke. The second option is coyotes, which I live on a farm, so coyotes are kind of like antagonistic to me usually. Garfield is number 3. Garfield doesn't seem to be like pulling his weight in the household, so I don't know if I can go with that. The last option is chimpanzee, which I'm pretty sure, like, don't they, like, tear people's faces off if you keep them as pets? I could see that being a plus for some people, but I'm not really into that. I'm gonna have to go with hare. I do like rabbits, and they're, at least here, they're not harmful. Like, I know in Australia they have problems, but over here, like, they're just kind of like good vibe animals in general. Question 9 is what's your favorite flavor? The first option is grass, which would be a good choice if you're like a grazing animal, like a cow or something. I'm not, though. The second option is the sidewalk, which to me, tasting the sidewalk seems like a euphemism for like losing a fight or something. Like, if the mob comes for you, that's you end up tasting the sidewalk or something like that. You know, like similar vibes to sleeping with the fishes. Does anyone say sleeping with the fishes nowadays? The third option is blood, which they clearly mean this in like an edgy way, I'm thinking, but I get nosebleeds a lot. I have just like, I don't know, the blood vessels in my nose are bad, which is a fun thing to happen to you, but the key thing is like, it means I am very familiar with the taste of blood. I don't really mind it now, because like, I've just bled into my own mouth so many times through my nose. That sounds gross, but you know, it like, even if it's not directed, like, you still get that kind of taste. Last option is deli meat, which seems like kind of a cheap out, unless it's like a euphemism for like cannibalism or something, but I don't think that's what they're going for. It's probably gonna tag me as like edgy for this, but I am gonna go with blood, because that is what is true to myself. Question 10 is give me your thoughts now, please, dear God. Also, if you have any thoughts about this quiz, or even better, medical malpractice, message me on Tumblr. I love talking and saying words. My URL is Staring Abyss. I'm glad they're on Tumblr. I did find this on Tumblr, and I've thought about sending the videos I make on people's uquizzes to them, but I don't think I'm quite there yet in terms of like production quality for my videos and that sort of thing. And I kind of like having less, pressure to perform well, just kind of like making these videos for myself. That being said, for my type-in message, I'm gonna go with like, you have a good taste in music. It'd be nice if I had one of like my weird ASMR videos I've been planning to record, because I could maybe link that, but probably not a good place to do self-promotion. So I'm just going to ask like, what's the weird creature in the jar in the background of this quiz? And the last question is finally choose a book I have next to me right now. First option is Tractor Wars, which sounds awesome. First off, that's a very exciting title, but there's a couple questions it raises. Like, first off, are they wars using tractors, or are they wars over tractors? Or I mean, there are other ways tractors could be involved in the wars, I guess. It could be wars taking place in or near tractors, or perhaps they're wars sparked by tractors, people in the tractor fandom having debates. The second option is Dark Archives, which to me just sounds kind of inconvenient. To my knowledge, archives are usually I guess anything can be an archive, but it to me at least implies reading. And if it's dark, that's gonna be a bit of a problem, The third option is the Kissing Bug, which sounds gross. Like, I don't know if it's a bug that's kissing people, or I guess it could be kissing other bugs, but it sounds like dubious in like how it's, I don't know what I was gonna say there. It's not my vibe, that's all I'm gonna get at. And the last option is Empire of the Scalpel, which is, I'm guessing, like, it's clearly like a surgery reference, like it might be a book about like plastic or reconstructive surgery. I will say the choice here should be obvious. You gotta go with Tractor Wars. I mean, like, there's not a whole lot that could possibly compete with that. And that is the last question. It's interesting that they have a question after like a write your message in text box. I've never seen that before, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to see what we've got. And my result is Burke and Hare. And the write-up is, okay, I will admit the animal question was a joke about Hare's name, which is, I guess, I picked that, that's why I gave it me, I guess. But all the results except one had something to do with animals, so it wasn't completely irrelevant. Anyway, it was 1827 in Edinburgh. An innkeeper named William Hare had a corpse on his hands. This man had died of natural causes in Hare's Inn, and he needed something to do with. First, he had arranged for a church burial, but at the time possessing and selling a dead body was not illegal, so when his neighbor William Burke suggested they try that instead, they went for it. There was a strong market for cadavers at that point. Anatomists always needed more for dissections, and they paid quite a bit for the bodies. They sold their first corpse to Robert Knox, an expert anatomist, who paid them roughly as much as they combined made in a year, and they were set on the path. They began murdering guests at the inn, then selling them to Knox. They killed their victims through a new method of strangulation, which became known as burking. An additional fun fact with this one is that grave robbing was extremely common during this time, and grave robbers were known as resurrectionists. I don't know how, like, much that is scientific malpractice, like I was promised. That sounds more just like murder. And also, if this is like what made selling corpses illegal or like a contributing factor, it seems kind of like a shame that I have to be tied to that now. All that being said though, at least something good came out of it, like burking, you know? You always need a good way to strangle people, and now I have a good one. Like, I gotta look up, I'm gonna learn how to burk. I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of use for it in my day-to-day life, kind of lifestyle I live, you know? And there was only 4 options, which is interesting. We got the second least common. As always, we're gonna rate this 5 stars. I'm sorry I haven't been doing uquizzes as much as before. They are kind of just like a pain to get through, but I do think they make for my best videos, so I might be leaning into trying to like get more of them out in the future. In any case, thank you for watching, listening. I've never done a good outro in my life. Yeah.